I'm going to explain my project, so which is mini web app, and it is like WebSummarizer. Okay, so you can see on the screen here we can provide the link, and it link of any website. Then it will be fetching the content from the website and summarizing it and showing you on the text, on your page. And here we can see all the histories over here. Okay, so this is our front end, which is I built in React. Okay, and here we can see we have the backend part also, which is like Spring Boot services I'm using, and this as a backend. And this Spring Boot is connected with the Scala library. In that library, actually I made one library to connect with the Postgre, means update the and insert the Postgre into the table of the Postgre, and also to pass the URL of website to the FastAPI to generate the summary of that particular content. Like the content will be fetched with Scala library. Okay, and the fetched content of the website will be passed to the FastAPI to generate the summary of that particular content. Okay, and it will be returning to the Scala, and then Scala will be returning to this backend, and this will be returning to the React app, and we can see over it. So let me first go through the React app, the code which I have written. So all of us, when this React app will run, then this is our div container with the ID root, and it will be called it will call this index.tsx. Okay, actually this is having the app. Okay, and this app will be app component, or you can say, yeah, this particular component we can see from over here. It is returning from here. Actually, React is a single page app or web app, so that's why we have here index.html only. Okay, and after that we have app.tsx, which is in which we have the header. We have defined the header, and we have defined these two routes. Okay, slash and slash history. Okay, and this particular component, since React is component based, so we can define the component anywhere. So in the header.tsx we have defined the component of the header as a component. So here we can see like the thing which we are looking, website summarizer, and here two buttons are there. So those two things are here in the nav. Here you can see. After that, according to the route, if we are selecting the summarizer page, means the landing one. So this part we can see over here. Just hover and click. We can see like one form is there. In that one there is like input, and in that one we can pass the URL of any website. And here we have submit button, and here we can see the summarized content of website. Okay, and on clicking the submit button, we will be actually calling the backend to generate the summary actually. Okay, and to and put the summarized content into the database. Okay, so it is and same for the history page. We can say we click on history, then yeah, since the backend is not running currently, so once it runs, then it will fetch the history. In the history, when this page will be opening, then it will be first calling to the API to fetch the data. Okay, backend, it will calling to the backend. It will to get the history data, and we can I'm showing over here all those history, item ID, item URL, and timestamp, and the summary of each like each row. Okay, so this is our front end part. Now let's have a look on this architecture diagram. Okay, now this front end will be, since it is calling to the backend, and backend is connected with this Scala library. Scala library is connected with this Postgre database, and also with the FastAPI. So let me first explain this, explain the code of FastAPI. So here we have PyTorch. Okay, so in this one here I am importing all the necessary libraries. Then like API key of Gemini, I am using the Gemini, and just selecting the model, and over here I am defining the slash route, just showing that API is running, and when someone will be like querying, the endpoint will be slash summarize with the URL link, then it will be passing to the Gemini to generate the summary. Okay, actually it is not just the URL. It is taking the content which is going to be fetched from this Scala library. Means scraping of the website will be over here, and the content will be passing to here. Like, okay, so that part is here. Okay, yeah, truncated content. This part we can see like I'm just putting the limit so that it should not exceed, because Gemini don't give you a very big like input token. Okay, that's why I have put some limit over here. So ultimately it will be after generating the summary, we are going to return. Okay, if some error came, then the status code will be 500. We can use the UBcon. It is for in the Python. It is a kind of server. We can with a single line of code we can initialize server in Python. So it is going to be run on 8,000 port number 8000, and currently I have just deployed this FastAPI service or the summarizer service on the Docker desktop. So I can run from here also. Here I am running this. Let I can stop it. I can run it also. Let me run it. So it is running on port number 8000, and for test I can just show you by running a simple test that it is working. Our API endpoint is working properly. So I have given the URL here, okay, and a little bit content about that. I think I should write here like URL, and this is, let's assume that it is fetched scraped content from the of the kimba.ai. Okay, so we can run it. Okay, so here we can see like summary we have generated, like API is generated, so it is working properly. Our FastAPI is working properly. Okay, so now our FastAPI is running through this Docker container, and same thing I'm doing with this front-end part. This one also I have also deployed using the Docker desktop, so it is going to run on the port number 3000. So that part we can see. Here it is, React WebSummarizer. It is running on 3000. So which you have just seen over here, 3000, and this is our 8000. Okay, so these two things are running, means our React and this FastAPI is running, and the Postgre database I have already configured it, so I can run and deploy it using the Docker desktop. So I can run from here. I have just, it is running on the port number 5432. Okay, so now this React app, Python FastAPI, and the Postgre database is completed. Now let's go to this. So first let me explain this Scala library which we have implemented. So let me go in this IntelliJ library IDE, and in that one we have Scala Summarizer API. If you able to see, you can see over here. Okay, and in that one we have src file. In that src we have these two are auto generated. I can remove it, there is no problem. Okay, and this is actually the code which actually I have added. Okay, this is our code, and with this Scala library we have build.gradle, as it was mentioned in the query itself. In the question is that like Scala should use Gradle. It is a library, it will call from the Java Spring Boot server. So we are doing the same thing, and Postgre database connected with it to log all the request history. Okay, and this one is having its separate Gradle. So since both are connected, so we can write one root WebSummarizer, root backend. Okay, inside the root backend we will be having, we can assume like we have backend Java Spring Boot and the Scala. Okay, so for that also we are going to have build.gradle for the root, and settings.gradle, and for backend Java Spring Boot we will be having the build.gradle, and for Scala the library which we are going to make, that is going to have also the build.gradle, and those two are going to connect with the root one. So let me just show you over here. So this is our at the root level build.gradle. It is at a root level. Okay, and in this one we have just grouped it with the ai.kimba. Since ai.kimba we can see in both in src main Java, here ai.kimba, and same thing we can see in this one also, the folder structure ai.kimba over here. So at both places we are grouping this like these two. Okay, and after that we are having the settings.gradle at the root. So this is our settings.gradle, and root project name we are giving WebSummarizer, and we are including the backend. Backend means backend Spring Boot I am talking about, and Scala Summarizer API means the library, Scala library which we are talking about. We can't give the same name Scala library, it is going to have a problem with the original Scala library, so I just changed the name Scala Summarizer API. Okay, so from now I will be calling this Scala library as Scala Summarizer API, and this backend Java Spring Boot service as backend only. Okay, so let me go to the code of this particular one, Scala library. So in that one we are having the build.gradle, and in this build.gradle you can see we have included the Java library, mav and publish, Scala library, we have all those things we have added, and here we have given the group name. Okay, and some other dependencies we have added over here. Okay, and here we have JSON. It will help to scrap the website actually. Okay, so all these things we have. And one thing I was this one shadow.jar, it will help to create the fat jar, not the thin one. Means there are two kind of jar. One is lightweight, another is like heavy. So lightweight is not going to contain the dependencies library. Since we are going to make a library Scala Summarizer API, so what we want a whole package. So that package we can build we want that all the dependencies of the Scala Summarizer API should be inside this package. So to achieve that, we can use the shadow jar. It will give us like a fat jar. I mean like something like this. In the build labs, we will be getting that this part Scala Summarizer API and this all dot jar. If we don't use this shadow jar, then we will be getting this only the jar file, which will create the problem. Since it will be not having like other dependencies. Like here you can see in the all dot jar we have other dependencies also. So we want the whole package so that we can import it and run it without any issues. Okay, so that's why this shadow jar is there. Okay, and now let's jump to the code of Scala. So here these are the paths. Here I have just written the test case, but I will come later over that. So here we have our imports, and we have given the package name as AI Kimba Scala Summarizer. Okay, and it is a Scala like Summarizer API. We can make it a class also, object also. For now, I had made it as an object. Either we can make it a class or object. Okay, here I have just defined the to connect with the Postgre. I have just defined the username, password, and other thing. Okay. And here we have if someone will be doing the summarizer.summarize and passing the URL, then it will be first fetching the web content, then calling to the Python service, means FastAPI, and this summary is going to be it will be returning the summary. Okay, from where it was called, means to the Spring boot it will return, and Spring Boot will return to the front end. Okay, so this is the code for the fetch web content. So yeah, these things we are passing the JSON we have, and it is connecting with this URL and scraping the website if it is allowed. Yeah, we have the title, body, and other things. Here it is calling, since you can see like over here, call Python service. Here we have call Python service. In this one we are passing the content which has been fetched using the JSON, and we are passing the original URL, okay, to the FastAPI. And here you can see like the endpoint, and it is like header and all those things, and it is doing the post. Okay, JSON payload it is passing. In the JSON payload we can see these things are there, content and URL. So if the status code is 200, then it is fine. If it is other, then we can show the error. Okay, so these things are there in you can say in the Scala library. Okay, so as simple as that. Now let me test it. So let me just put the since this Scala summarizer library dot Scala Scala can take URL and return the summary. So I think if we can run it and test it. So I have just written a simple code, or we can use the postman. Okay, and since no, currently we can't use the postman because it is not server side. It is not running on server. So we can test it. First generate the summary, generate the jar file. Then as a reference we can pass the jar file while running this test summarizer. We can give the path of the jar file while running the test summarizer.scala. Then it will generate the summary. Okay, so at the Scala, let me take the code. Okay, this one I can use it. I have to first compile and do all those things. To generate this build, we can run like dot gradle live build. We can build this like a gradle of the Scala summarizer API. Then it will generate the .jar file. Okay, let me delete it and show you. Just wait it. Yeah. Okay, so Scala CLI run. We can use this. Let me first generate the .jar file for this Scala summarizer API. So I can write like this: gradle okay, and build it. Let's wait. It will generate the .jar file. Okay, and we will be using the fat one. Otherwise we are going to face it. Since this Scala Summarizer API itself, it is depending on others, so of course we have to provide the other dependencies. We have to provide the package which is having the all dependencies. Okay, let's wait it, and it will take a little bit. Okay, it's done. Now we can see here build. In build we can see, yeah, we can see here, you can see all.jar file. Now we can use this code to run it. Here Scala CLI run test summarizer.scala. The code, this code you can see over here. Okay, in this one test summarizer.scala, it is not coming down. Okay, test summarizer.scala. In this one you can see we have main. In that main we have test URL. I have just given the test URL. We can change it kimba.ai. Okay, now we are passing this to the summarizer library.summarize. As I said, since it is an object, so we can directly hit it to the method like summarizer library.summarize. Okay, and we are passing the test URL. Okay, that's it. And if it get the summary, then we can print it. And here we are passing the class path, the dependencies. Our dependency is that this one. Okay, all.jar file. Then we can just run it. So file not found. Okay, sorry. We have to go to the folder location. From there we can run it. Scala summarizer, and then we have source, then we have main, then we have Scala. Yeah, I think this one is the place from where we can run it. Now it's fine, I think. So what currently we are doing, we are testing, since I explained this part, Scala library part. Okay, Scala Summarizer API, which is this one. I just explain you the code. Okay, now I want to show you it is working. Okay, so if I will provide the URL, then it will go pass to this Scala Summarizer API. It will pass to this FastAPI. FastAPI is already running. I have show you on the port number 8000, and it is Postgres is also running. So everything is fine. I want to test these parts. These parts I want to test it. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, here we got the summary. Here you can see we have just run it. Here we have run it, and here we got the summary. Here we got the summary. You can just verify it. Okay. So we tested this Scala library, so it's working fine. FastAPI we tested, it is also working fine. I have explained the code for those two, and Postgres database is running. That is also fine. Okay, now let me go to this Backend Java Spring Boot service, which is in our case I've just given the name Backend. Okay, so let me go to that. Okay, so this is our backend. As you can see, in that backend we have a build.gradle, because if you see Backend Java Spring Boot use Gradle for building, so we are using the Gradle for building it. Okay, just Spring Boot API server. Okay, so it is kind of Spring Boot API, it is kind of a server. Okay, where that one? Okay, here. Now let me show you what is in build.gradle. So in the build.gradle we have group kimba, that's good. And here we are giving the directory where that jar file is there. Means we are going to use this Scala library, Scala Summarizer API. We are going to use into this. Okay, that's why and its location, the jar location is this one. Jar location here. Its location is here. So we are just giving the path to connect with this jar instead of manually putting there. So this is that. So let me close this. We are in backend. So in the backend build.gradle we have this. Okay, and here we have defined fat jar we are using directly, and we have also tested this fat jar. Okay, so that's it. And here again this line of code will make sure that Scala Summarizer API is built already whenever we will be running this backend. Means Spring Boot, whenever we will be running the Spring Boot, before that we have to make sure that our Scala Summarizer API is built already. Otherwise it will throw an error, maybe dependencies not found anything, something like that. Okay, so let's go to the code in the SRC, and in the Java we can go, and here it is our controller. In the controller we can see get controller, model, repository, service. Okay, so let's see this. Okay, I have minimized. Okay, I'm inside the controller. So here we have API /API. and /summarize. Okay, if you want to like summarize some link which is coming from the front end, then its endpoint should be API/API/summarize, and it is requesting as a param, so it will look something like this, means /API/summarize, and it will be URL equals to whatever, like http:// I hope I'm writing properly, and like whatever, I think it is fine, otherwise I have to look. Oh, for that one it should be https, something like that. Yeah, it is https. Okay, it is / not /. Okay, so what I am trying to convey, that the endpoint, what will be the endpoint. Okay, so API/summarize, okay, and with the URL as parameter. So it is going to take the parameter, and from here we are calling the Scala summarizer API. So so this one actually a Scala library service, which we can see over here in the service part. So if we hover and click, then we can navigate to this file, same file. Okay. There we have created one object of this service. Okay, in the controller we have Scala library service. If we click on this, we got over here Scala library service.java. Okay, and in this one we are passing the to the Scala summarizer API. Okay, like here you can see summarizer library.summarize URL. So actually this part we can hover and click, so it will take you over this summarizer library.scala, and this is inside the data package all.jar file. Okay, so actually these things are here, okay, which is in jar file. Okay, so this controller, whenever query will come, then it will go to the controller, and according to the API endpoint, it will redirect to the method which is implemented in the Scala summarizer API. Okay, so that's it. So yeah, so this is for the summary. Okay, this is for the summary API/summarize, and if it is coming like give the history, then it will go and fetch the history. Okay, all those things. So this is all the codes, and here are some other dependencies are there. So summarizer request and other things I have put in. Okay. So this one will make sure that we will be allowing only this something running on this port number 3000. It will allow these things, get, post, put, delete, and options. These things are allowed inside this, and in the resources we can see like some other thing which is needed, like username of the Postgre, password, and URL, where the Postgre is deployed, means at which port it is running, that is 5432, and the database name is WebSummarizer, username is this, and password is this. Okay, and here we can also pass the Python service URL which is running on port number 8000. Okay, and itself this Spring Boot will be running on 8080, port number 8080. Okay, so this is all about this backend Spring Boot. Now let's build it and run this boot file. Okay, so it will work like a server. Yeah, it is a server, Spring Boot. Okay, so let me open the terminal. Since we have already generated this that jar file from the Scala summarizer API, from there we have already generated. So now we can run it. Let me see this. Okay, it's okay. I think let me see the code. This is jar boot. Yeah, let's run this, the Spring Boot. Okay, so here we have slash gradly Scala summarizer API shadow jar. So it will, if it is not created, then this single line of code we can create the jar file, and this part will run the boot Spring Boot. Okay, so let's run it, and like once it gets started, then we can query at port number 8080 as we have seen in the application start properties. 8080 server port is, for the backend server port is 8080. Okay, so it has, let's see, now it is running. We can see it's running now, and for testing purpose, since it is running on this, and for the summary, to generate the summary, we see like the controller in this part, we can use the post and pass the request as the URL as a params. So I think we can use the postman to test it. So we have the postman. Now we are going to test the backend. Okay, allow it. It is 8080, and it's API slash summary. Let me see the endpoint. API slash summarize. Okay. Okay, and the params is our URL, and URL, let me pass some URL on the website. Let me pass that number. Okay. Okay, let's send it. So now what we are doing, actually we are trying to query from here. Okay, we want to test these parts, all these together. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to do. Yeah, we got the summary. That's great. Okay, now we can check from the front end. Since our front end is running on the port number 3000, you can see it's running on port number 3000. So my laptop is discharging. Okay, here it is running. I can pass the Kimba.ai. Just hit on the summary. Yeah, we got it. Yeah, that's great. In the history, if we click, we can get all those histories. Let's do for the NASA. Let's summarize this one. Yeah, it is working. It's working. Yeah, we can see. So it's working fine, I think. So so this was the project. Okay, so I think our front end is properly communicating with the backend Spring Boot services, and this one is properly communicating with the Scala summarizer API, and this one is properly communicating with the FastAPI, and this one is properly communicating with the Gemini, and the Scala library is properly communicating with this Postgres database. I think it's working fine, and yeah, that's it. So this was the project and all the codes. Okay, thank you.